I'm absolutely pumped to be here. I'm so happy to be back in Alberta. I was born in Calgary. So I've been back to Edmonton in 10 years since the last boot camp. I guess it wasn't 10 years, maybe 9 years. 9 years. But a lot of familiar faces, and Robert made my day because I saw Shane this morning and I said, man, we all look the same still. This is awesome. And then Robert came and he goes, you look younger. And I'm like, this is awesome. I love the boot camp. The boot camp is my absolutely favorite thing. So I think we're going to have a great time here, and it's really, really good to be in the room full of a bunch of people who know more than what you know. I mean, and we can each enrich each other with that information. Now, that's what building teams and bidding is all about. So it's not like you sit around and you wait, oh, I love that, Robert. Let's bid on a bank project today and lose. Yeah, sure. No one likes to lose. I don't know anybody who likes to lose. And that's because I don't hang around people like that. And I'm sure in your business, if you had people that go, oh, this is really great. You remember how sad the Blue Jays were when they lost? They didn't want to take their uniform off. Who wants to lose? No, we want to win. We want to compete. So that's what we're going to talk about. So I was asked to present an overview of the IFIs. How's the PowerPoint working today?
Yeah, there's a little.
Oh, good time. Nice. So what we've done is, how does this work?
Yeah, so
All
go
right.
that way, and then that way if you need to go back, and it's all one. So
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the banks, especially going to focus a lot on the World Bank. There's a lot of banks. I only have 10 minutes, I think, so I can't cover all 5 and 10, but I'll try. So what are the IFIs? Oh my goodness. I am getting older. I need to look at my slide. So the IFIs are your banks, the ones that represent you, and the ones that work either on a global or on a regional nature. So in the first case, we're talking about a broad membership, and each of the banks has a different number of members. So you need to look at these, but generally speaking, they're the ones that either are considered to be member countries or borrowing member countries. They operate, in a sense, on focus areas that are typically associated with the needs of the countries. So borrowing member countries are the majority of the procurement. They're the ones that basically win a lot and borrow the money. So when a country borrows money, or in the form of a loan, they usually get a 10-year concessional grant. And that means they don't have to pay interest for a decade. Now, just reflecting on a recent experience that I had, the country wants the project to succeed. It always wants the project to succeed. If it's not succeeding, they'll typically get an extension. Now, the longer the project is extended, the longer the period of the concessional loan. So when we look at these, this is just a small profile of the banks. You can see that their location is mapped out on that chart. And each one of them, I've put the number of borrowing member countries and the number of member countries. So you can see there's a lot more, obviously, member countries than borrowing member countries. Because, like, for example, Canada doesn't borrow money on this. And probably people wouldn't like it if we borrowed interest-free loans, and developing countries had to subscribe to that. So the amount of voting power that each country has is a reflection of how much of a subscription that they put in. So you can see we're a fairly significant contributor to the CDB. These slides are all in your book, I should say that. So when we look at each of them, you can see with 9.4% of the voting power at the CDB, you would think that there's a lot of opportunities there. And there are. It's just they're small opportunities relative to, let's say, the World Bank opportunities, or the ADB opportunities, or the AFDB opportunities. And you'll see in a moment that it's really important to understand the different roles and responsibilities of the people at the bank. So while you can find out what people's jobs are, you need to know why you call them, what you're talking to them about, and whether they're leaving. If they don't answer the phone or talk to you, there's a reason for that. So each person has a particular role to play, just like we all do. So bank staff, for example, with feasibility studies and other things like that, like technical assistance preparation, those are paid for with grants. So they're typically playing a higher level supervisory role. So as someone who's been deployed on the design of projects and the preparation of the terms of reference for the bank loans and the bank grants, lots of times I'm not even talking to anyone from the bank. I'm talking to the client, the in-country ministry or the minister who's representative. So the bank is more or less watching my work too to make sure that I'm enforcing the rules per bank. Yes, okay, I'm on. So in reflecting on all of this information that we're going to be talking about, and I should say I'll be touching on all of this tomorrow. That's why I'm talking so quickly. I've already been flagged. The country office is the most important source point for you. The people in the country, that is the recipient of the loan, those are the people who handle it. So when you're dealing with your management team and you explain to them, I have to go to country X. That's why you have to go to country X. It's, as you'll see from Mr. Maitland, it's not enough just to talk to him. He won't be giving you the loan or the grant or the contract or even the bid. He's not going to. He might give you some advice, but he's not going to help you that way. So when we're doing this, we have to remember, first of all, we're working in a context of international development, which means we're talking about things, the goals of these lending institutions. In the case of the World Bank, it's a twin goal of ending extreme poverty and lowering from 18% to 3% those who are considered poor by the year 2030, and increasing income from the bottom 40. So if we look at the World Bank, each one of these IFIs has a particular structure that it has a reference point for doing different items in different tasks within this context. So typically, most of us, when we deal with the World Bank, we're dealing with IBRD, which is the primary lending group. But IFC and IDA are also playing a huge role. As you're going to hear from Michael, there's been some structural reforms at the bank which involved rearrangement around global practices, and this is very, very important, you know, to look at these practices and see, like in a matrix form, where you fit. Where does your firm fit? How do you do that? Wow, you guys are tough with that sheet. So the procurement aspect of it, it's very important to follow the guidelines. I've tried to provide them to the team here on the USB stick. So you have the forms, and what we try to do is put everything together for you so you don't have to look for it. So we put contacts in there, we put the guidelines, the standard contract. You know, familiarize yourself with these things beforehand, and note that you need to know what's going on. Now have a look at just a couple of charts. I'm going to borrow a minute from tomorrow. The major contracts awarded to Canadian sectors at the World Bank for this 5-year period, you can see how we're doing. We're doing okay. We're doing all right at the World Bank. Now have another look at the next slide and see where we're doing okay. So, I mean, typically Canadians, we participate in all areas with the World Bank, and it's very important to take note of this. So these represent areas to build on, but also areas for expansion. And you're going to hear a little bit more about that soon. Now, if you look at the Inter-American Bank and you look at the contracts here, these are consulting contracts awarded by country. So this is where the opportunities for things can be. This is where partners exist, because if you want to win, you need to partner locally. You need to find yourself good local partners, people who can do this work, people who you can build on your relationship. And then if you want to look here, you can see this is our rank in terms of delivery of consulting services over a 5-year period. And you can see we're not sitting at the bottom like you're going to see from a slide real soon, number 56. I never want to be number 56. Number 56. Look, in AFDB, we're number 1. So who's winning those contracts in the African Development Bank? Now, granted, African Development Bank business is a little bit slow because they had to relocate the headquarters and things are, but things are starting to move there. But you can see, first, second, first. We'll probably be second this year. And we have lots of room to grow, but Canadians are doing better at the banks, as you can see. And there's room to grow there. So one of the tips that I would leave you with for every one of these banks is you can find out who's winning these contracts. This is all part of the Open Data Initiative. All this information is available, and we can help you find it, and we will. And I think I have to wrap up, even though I have so many more slides to give. I'll just end on one more note here for tomorrow, and just show you here that this is something that you're going to hear about in a minute. I'm just setting this up for the guys. The types of consulting opportunities are there for goods and for consultants. We do very well in consultants and very poorly in goods and works. And you have to note where you fit in the project cycle. Where we fit in terms of opportunities is usually 0.7. Implementation of the project. Sometimes you can fit in number 3. And so at the back of this presentation, I won't go through it, but you'll see we've put here a list of all the relevant links here for you to click on for projects for every bank, and they're just all right there. So every one of these links will take you where you want to be. So if you click on procurement, you'll find out where the contracts are. If you click on projects, you'll find out the portfolio. You'll find it in the pipeline where everything is as well. Sorry for talking so fast. So that's something, just a general overview of things that we wanted to present you with, because it's necessary to understand what we're going to do tomorrow. Because tomorrow what we're going to do is we're going to break down a bid. We're going to go through it. And we're going to go through the forms you need to in a model. And I'm going to try to show you what you have to do. But to understand these lending institutions, you have to understand that each one of them does something very unique. So, thank you.